For 2 more years? Hey. If that's true, Eunice, then you want to look at the.
I'm going to look at any of that right now.
Come on.
You've been doing that all day. We're going to look at our own.
Email's probably best because I'm always somewhere.
It is that? She sometimes doesn't.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes. But if you email me, I'll get it to you.
All right, thank you so much. We'll look at our own numbers. May I have a motion to return to a special meeting?
So moved.
Call roll, please.
Adams. Jones. Safrati. Jackson. Brownlee.
Present.
Jordanski.
Yes.
Agee.
May I have a motion to suspend the regular council meeting agenda and proceed with the legislation? Call the roll, please.
Adams. Jones. Safrati. Jackson.
Yes.
Brownlee.
Present.
Jordanski.
Yes.
Agee.
We move on to the legislation, please.
Resolution number 2014-50, a resolution pursuant to section 5705-19 of the revised code, submitting to the electors of the city of Maple Heights at the November 4th, 2014 municipal election, the question of an additional 1.3 mil tax levy for 5 years for the purpose of current expenses and general operations of the Maple Heights Senior Center and declaring an emergency.
This resolution is on its third reading tonight. Is there any discussion or amendments? And are we prepared to vote? 3 questions. Anthony, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to thank Kathy for getting together the sheet of the revenue projections. It gives everybody a pretty good picture of what it'll cost the residents per year and per month. And that's why I introduced this piece of legislation along with the tax levy. I think it's more affordable than the tax credit issue, but that's a personal opinion. So I think we have all the figures in front of us, and council can make their decision as they please. Thank you.
Thank you. And we've also heard several times that this probably would be a more general opportunity for the residents to buy into our program rather than, a slice of this and a slice of that. This is giving everybody an opportunity. So, yes, go ahead. Yeah.
I only want to add, when I talked to the county today, they suggested not putting an estimate for the homestead exemption because of the change in the laws. People are still, do I get it, do I don't? They're still changing the law, so I didn't put that comment.
Just another quick comment. With the senior center levy, I wanted to point out that this is to secure the monies for the operations for those programs that I feel benefit a lot of the residents, the home delivered meals and whatever else Linda talked about. And I think it's very important that we do that and we take care of the seniors and keep that this building and those programs separate and funded. Initially, something like the trash where it's self-funded and not vulnerable to the cuts.
And the situation with the senior center too is that if it has to be shut down at any one time, we lose the federal funding, which is not a good thing.
Then you have to pay it back.
Go ahead, Alex.
I read the money that's going to be generated from the 1.3 and the 4.7 mil if it passes, and the city income tax doesn't pass, we're going to have enough money in these 2 funds to keep operating. Right up deficit.
Basically, as they stated, we have 2 challenges. One is to balance the current year budget, and then we still have to wipe out the deficit that came into the year. So it's sort of like almost doubles it, you know what I mean? So it will, over the 5 years, to increase. It's not going to do it all at one time, but each year, if we put in the 1.7. Keeping the expenses the same though, you know, where we are now, this is not to raise the expenses based on this increase, not immediately. We'll have to first build up and eliminate the deficit. So if the money, if we do generate the monies, you know, like I say, we need to take care of the last year's deficit and then also to ensure that the current level services. And of course, the current level represents a lot of cuts already. So it may mean that we have stopped the bleeding in terms of reducing our programs. And then you may start adding them back, as she has said, you know, as the money starts coming in, which will be 2 years down the road.
Well, with the city income tax, I feel isn't going to pass. So with these two, Anthony's two legislations, that should drive us in the 5-year plan. That should get us out of the fiscal watch.
Well, at least stop the bleeding. Like I
Stop
say,
the
their
bleeding.
goal is that we do not increase the deficit. As long as you're showing progress. And like you say, you may be out in 3 years, it may be 5, it may be 7, but the idea is to show some growth. So as long as you're moving forward. But just keep in mind, you know, as long as they're coming out, then we start adding their costs, which is quite expensive after 2.5 years. We'll have to start paying them for their oversight. But basically, what you're saying is true, that, you know, we keep things level. We want to stop the bleeding and then start eradicating the deficit from last year.
Well, that'd be up to you and the mayor, or the mayor, to start elimination of some things to get rid of the expenses, so that the revenue generated from here would count. I mean, if you know you're gonna have an expense that's gonna be wiping out some of this, you're gonna have to do away with it.
Well, I think
Or
that's what the
something,
mayor has
something.
been doing, you know, like I say, over the years. A lot took place before I started, but I understand there was some major staff cuts before I came.
Yeah.
And I know there's been a few since I've started. And we've, you know, eliminated some other things. Like you say, you renegotiated the waste management contract. I mean, all those little things help. 100,000 here, 100,000 there. You know, then we're waiting to see what the camera brings in. And so, but the key is just to hold level until we see exactly what income, like they say, come in. We won't start our spending anticipating the revenue. Right. And but the other thing too, you know, look at numbers. You have to be able to understand the numbers. For example, they talked about the deficit in the general fund. We're on a cash basis. So anything that's paid this year is going to show up in those numbers. So keep in mind that from 2013, there were a lot of bills paid since I've been here. We paid a lot of bills that had not been paid. So they're going to show up as in the appropriation columns, okay, until they do the audit and they do the gap, then they move it out. But in terms of your monthly statements that you see for expenditures, it may appear that we're overspending this year's budget, but not necessarily. So, I mean, just keep that in mind, because when you just get a piece of paper and you see some numbers, you need to understand those numbers.
Well, you're going to explain that during the appropriation period, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
If we ask for
you
the
know.
appropriations on the terms, you're going to tell us what that money is.
Right, so for example, from last year, hypothetically, we haven't done the audit, just say that there was, they'll call them payables or liabilities. Say there were $800,000 in bills, hypothetically. And you sort of know that because the waste management was about $400,000. So I'm just saying that there was a lot of bills left from last year. But when they're paid in this year, it's going to look like this year's expenditure and that we're overspending this year's budget. So, you know, you have to really understand the numbers when you're looking at them.
We'll ask for clarification.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Is this strong?
Yes, it
Okay.
has something
Go
to do
ahead.
with it. You guys remember when we tried to pass the first levy, it was just the regular property tax. And if you add up in what clerk did, the two amounts would equal what the general property tax increase was. So it's smart to divide it up and to actually have specific reasons for each one. And with an 85% collection rate, and I don't know if it's down to 80% now, we would be able to generate, and this was from, and because the numbers haven't changed, it was supposed to generate $1.7 million, which is exactly what we were losing when they did the reassessment. And I think part of the other thing we need to do as council is to try to get after our districts to also spruce up, fix up, clean up when they do their reassessment. And that's next year, I think. That will help also generate property values in order to increase taxes. That's it.
Okay, thank you. We need a motion for adoption, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? Alex, do you have?
Does anybody want to co-sign it, co-sponsor this?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Anthony, yes. Richard?
Anyone else?
Aye.
Alex? Thank you.
Call the roll for adoption, will you finish that, please?
Okay, Jones?
Yes.
Safradi?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Brownlee?
No.
Jorjanski?
Yes.
Agee? Yes. Adams?
Yes.
The ordinance passed by the vote of 6 yes, 1 no. Resolution number 2014-52, a resolution pursuant to sections 5705-19 of the revised code, submitting to the electors of the city of Maple Heights at the November 4th, 2014 municipal election, the question of an additional 4.7 mil tax levy for 5 years for the purpose of the current expenses and general operations of the city of Maple Heights and declaring an emergency.
And again, this resolution is on its third reading. Is there any discussion, addition? Any good with this? Okay.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
nobody likes taxes. The city needs money. I think under any circumstances, if it was from your household to your own business or to the city now, to keep from things getting worse from going into fiscal watch and not being able to pay bills, you would go out and get a second job or do whatever it is you had to do in order to raise income. To me, this is a no-brainer, and I would like to hear if people have other ideas on how to generate income, what it is. But I think that this is something that just has to be done. We should all get behind it and try to do it, get it done.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Go ahead, Alex.
I've had a couple ideas, but this ain't the time and place to bring them up now for additional revenue from residents. Now, the residents know, or should know, that we're in a problem, we got a problem. I mean, no matter how you look at it, how you want to shake it out, we're in trouble. So they know this is it. And this is the most fairest way, right here, that we can generate revenue. It doesn't fall on the workers only. It falls on the senior citizens, the workers, everybody. So I think that the city residents will recognize this and hopefully vote for it. We have to push for it.
You knocked the nail on the head. We all have to support this or whatever levy we put on the ballot together, or it's not going to work.
Well, I mean, I totally agree with you. The dissension that was out there the last time was not healthy. The negatives are not going to work. We've got enough negatives going with some of the cuts that we've had to do, and people are unhappy. So we're really going to have to live with this. I mean, if you're not going to be behind it, you're not going to support it, at least lay back and not actively be negative about it. So, can we have a motion?
One more thing.
Go ahead, Alex.
I mean, we haven't had many participations here in council with the residents. Newspapers have been given a lot. People know it. We're in financial trouble. There's been cuts. It's been a hardship. We all keep getting calls, same calls, grass, potholes, and our streets and everything cannot be maintained. We can maintain them, but it's going to take longer. But they have to realize that now come the time. This was not brought by this administration, this council. This happened over the state and the cuts. And if we want to move forward and have the same cuts and operate as we did, then they're going to have to finance it. And these aren't very much a month. So we have to get out there and push for it.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Jones. Safardi.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Brownlee.
No.
Terjansky.
Yes.
A.G.
Yes.
Adams.
Yes.
Sink for the cosign?
Yes,
sponsors?
absolutely, absolutely.
Resolution number 2014-54, a resolution amending ordinance number 2014-27 to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and the expenditures of the city of Maple Heights for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2014, and declaring an emergency.
This is, this is the second reading.
Yes.
Go ahead. I don't know if there's anything that we need to discuss, because we were going to put this one on tomorrow. And we were hoping to talk about the tax budget tonight. Is that correct, Irene? We were talking the tax budget tonight. That's the one that's...
Yeah, that's a priority because of the deadline.
That's all right with council?
No, it's not.
Madam Chair?
Pardon me?
No, it's not.
The 2014 supplemental appropriations, we need to be able to discuss that before we're going to vote on that tomorrow.
No, we're voting, oh, okay, I understand, but we will also have a longer opportunity tomorrow. That's up to you if you don't feel comfortable with that, but the tax budget is the one that's due shortly. I believe it's July 15th.
Well, I think I've been through about half of the 14 supplemental, and myself, I probably have over 10 questions to ask. So if we're going to do it tomorrow, I would suggest we bring a coffee pot and pizza, because we're going to be here for a while.
I reject the coffee pot and pizza. But that's, I mean, you handle your kitchen things otherwise.
Okay.
I just see that the other, these two are going to take a modicum of time here, and they're both on second readings. But if you want to start now, that's fine. We can do both of them again tomorrow.
May I?
Yes, I'd like to have
Go
questions
ahead.
as well.
Excuse me.
Yes, I can
Go ahead,
understand
Irene.
about the 2014 budget because that is our operating budget and it will have an impact on the plan. So that's good that we're going to work it through. The tax budget is a different issue.
Right.
The purpose of the tax budget is to request our allocation, as they mentioned, from the tax, the millage and all of that. It's not a final budget. It's just a matter of saying we are requesting that we receive our government funds, our taxes, as she indicated on that 3 column. It's not a budget. I mean, this is not the budget that we're going to be stuck with or that we have to live with. It's just a request to make sure that they know we have a need for our dollars. I think it'll be a futile exercise for us to comb through that as we will the appropriation. I think that's appropriate that we go through the 2014 budget. But the tax budget, all it's doing is to, first of all, meet their deadline that the city is saying, yes, we want our monies for next year. That's why it's called the 2015 tax budget. If we don't submit it, then the millage that we have, then it's, it's lost. So it's not a budget for us to sit down and comb and tear through the numbers. That's not what that's for. I mean, that's your prerogative, but I'm just saying that that's not what it's for. The main purpose of the first couple pages of that, where we ask for the money, the request on Schedule 1, where we're asking for our 15.5 millage. And then the last page, which shows the debt, to say that yes, we will pay our debt service and that we'll be able to pay it. I mean, that's the real purpose of this. Schedule 3. It tells the debt that we have outstanding, how much it'll be next year, and that we will pay this debt. Because part of the conditions that she spoke about in terms of fiscal emergency or anything, if we cannot meet payroll and we don't pay our debt service, regardless if we pay all the waste management and all these other places, it doesn't matter. This is a measuring stick also. It's also what they use to determine our ratings, like with Moody, our bond rating. So that's the whole purpose of this. I mean, the other numbers are just supporting the fact that yes, on Schedule 1, we want our monies. This is what we need to operate the city.
Okay, so you think that perhaps we won't have to spend as much time on that tax budget?
I really don't see where we spend any, but that's your prerogative.
I
mean, if you
understand.
need
That's
some
why I thought-
clarification,
Right.
but in terms of reworking the numbers and changing them and, going through them, that's my personal. The budget for 2014, yes, because that's what we need to operate. That sets the tone and is a function of the plan. This budget here will be revised in December when we submit our real 2015. In December, they sent us out what they call a Schedule A. The Schedule A tells us from this request how much they gave us. Then that's when we do our real 2015 budget and we put those numbers in, which show up in those columns that she talked about on that estimated resource. So those are my comments. And that's when we will go through this. Right now, this is just saying, this is what we would like
Right,
to have from the county
okay.
for the tax budget.
So if you want to start going through the 2014-54, is that what I'm doing with the council? Okay, let's start the discussion. Go
Have the
ahead.
finance director come and join us for this discussion.
Irene, are you ready?
I am ready
Okay.
to entertain your questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. I just need somewhere to write, that's why I was saying.
Okay. I'll grab you a table. Let's bring a table over. Shouldn't you want to grab the other side of that?
Please, I'll go first. I have a question. I read on the very first page of the,
Revenue,
is that the same thing? Okay, I printed it out a little larger so I can read it. Under railroad retribution,
Yes.
you have revised estimated resources. Do we still have money coming in from there? Because that should be a zero.
yeah, okay. When I went through, one of the requests that I had before was to go through the other and miscellaneous. And maybe I'm confused, is that the in-gate or what they
That
call
was the
it?
gate fees.
Gate fee.
That we
have
do no
received
longer
mon- We have
collect.
received monies this year. That's on the books. So that's why I moved it out of the other revenue column to, you know, where it belongs, because I think one of the questions, thank you, that we had was that there was a whole bunch of revenues under like other income, and there was a question about what it was. So with that and some other things, so I moved it out.
We better be careful of that so we don't maybe have to owe it back, because I thought the resolution stated a specific date and that was it.
Let's see if we can check on that. So as soon as John comes back, we'll have.
Okay, well,
We gotta be really careful about
but
that.
in the meantime, what this is your basic information, which, the methodology that we went through what was on the books as of now for revenue. And then we projected out, so what's on the books is on the books, like I said, that's what come back, but some of these numbers are already on the books that's been received, so that's why you can see the variances between the original projection that we did maybe back in February, March, for the permanent budget versus what's there now.
Okay, I'll check.
So, you're gonna ask the law director about that?
Yep.
What exactly fund are you, did you say that came out of? You said other income.
It was in the general fund. If you notice, all of these accounts, and that was the point that I was making, that you still within the general fund have a separate account. Under the general fund, there's all these different sources of revenue. If you look in the 2013 column, and I bolded near the bottom at $312,000, there was a question, I think, for Councilman Jackson, which I had to say the question, like, what was in that? Because normally I don't like to use miscellaneous account numbers or others. So we went through and ran a report to sort of see what was in that account. And I pulled that out and moved it to, let's see, to the railroad account. And then I projected from that, so the 36,000 that you see, you know, we just sort of 4 times that, because that's only been for, I think 1 month or for a quarter or something like that. So that's how I came up with the 125,000 for the railroad, based on what was put there. Now, it could have been placed there erroneously in terms of posting, but like I say, I read a detailed revenue schedule that shows every transaction. Every transaction, it's not summarized, it shows every transaction, and that showed up at 77,000 so far to June. So I just sort of doubled it to make it 100.